Hey guys, what's going on? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. Well, sometimes guys, I surprise you with reviews for some different products. You know, I tend to focus more on kind of the firearms arena, but once in a while we throw some outdoorsy stuff in there, and this is really no exception to the rule. So today we will not be reviewing this chainsaw, although it's been a great chainsaw. This is just the Craftsman that I normally use. We're going to talk about the fuel that I use to run the chainsaw. Now, a lot of people, when they buy yard products and they're told that they have to mix, you know, some sort of oil with gasoline for the two-cycle engine, a lot of people just go buy this two-cycle synthetic oil, mix this with a gallon of gas, and they're good to go. You really have to be careful with your two-cycle engines and ethanol-enriched fuels. Here in Nebraska, you can still get non-ethanol 87 octane gas. And that's actually what I run in my Jeep. It tends to run a little bit better, in my own opinion. Now, we're not going to sit here and argue, you know, the merits, benefits, and, you know, of ethanol. I'm fine with it. If people want to use it, they can. But when it comes to your two-cycle yard products, you really want to reconsider. For one thing, now I've been told and I've read, okay, I'm not an expert on this, but ethanol fuels can tend to go bad within a few months. So if you're somebody that stores ethanol-based fuels, you know, 10% ethanol gas in your two-cycle mixes and your two-cycle power tools, that it can actually cause some hard starting issues the next spring when you get your equipment out. It can cause some corrosion issues and so on. Even though it's only 10 to 12%, you can still have some problems. So anyway, when I first got this chainsaw, I just bought, you know, a gallon of 87 non-ethanol gas. I mixed in some two-cycle engine oil and I went to town. I've had a total of 3 trees that we've cut down with this chainsaw. Now granted, the trunks, I had to have some assistance with those because the trunks of the trees were huge. But I would use this chainsaw for, this thing would be running for, you know, an hour, 2 hours at a time. Not, you know, constantly on, but simply on, idling, and so on. And one problem it was starting to develop, especially after the first summer, this is my second summer using it now, is that it would have some hard starts. I would use it for 40 minutes, turn it off, and then try to start it back up, and it would not start because of the heat soak and whatever reason, it just simply would not kick on. Well, that's when I was using the 87 gas with the synthetic oil. Well, when I switched over to SEF Small Engine Fuel, which I don't know if I told you, it's manufactured by VP Racing Fuels Incorporated. This is a premix fuel that has the gas and the oil ready to go. It is a very pure fuel. It is set at 90 octane, which is a little bit hotter than the 87 octane I was running. It is endorsed by Briggs and Stratton. It does have stabilizers in it and cleaners. When I put this stuff in my chainsaw, and I'm on my second bottle now. I've done 2 tankfuls through this chainsaw. I don't have that heat soak issue anymore. Maybe the higher octane rating runs better with the compression of the chainsaw and it just cranks right up. Maybe I had a batch of bad gas. That gas that I was using was only about a month old. And so I'm convinced that this is the way that I'm going to go from here on out. Supposedly this stuff is more stable. I don't know if you could keep this in your tank the whole winter without adding anything to it and firing it up. I think I'm actually going to try in this chainsaw and see what happens. We'll leave a full tank in. I know it could potentially ruin the chainsaw, but I am really just curious to see what would happen. But man, I'll tell you, it fires right up when you're using this stuff. It is safe to use in other yard equipment. They show some weed eaters on here, chainsaws, trimmers, you know, leaf blowers, and so on. They claim it's used by emergency crews, that they keep it on hand in case they need to go into an area and fire up their equipment, and you don't have to worry about getting fuel. Now, from a prepper perspective, it's probably a good idea to keep a couple cans of this around, because think about what would happen if you'd have, say, a tornado or a hurricane, electricity gets knocked out. Good luck getting gas, okay? And a lot of us might only have a gallon or 2 sitting around, and if you have to burn a gallon to mix this stuff up and run it in here, that's going to leave you with a gallon or no extra gas at all, especially if you have no fuel reserves in your home. So if you have a couple cans of SEF just sitting around, I'm just going to call it SEF, you should be good for a few years. I mean, the can's sealed. You shouldn't have to worry about it. I'm going to try to burn through a can in a year and not let it sit much longer than that. But it's convenient. Like I said, I noticed better performance in the chainsaw, better starts, seems to have better idle and a smoother idle and more power. Granted, this is just a 42cc Craftsman. It's nothing special. Now, there's other companies that manufacture this. I know that the Stihl Chainsaw Company makes their own premix fuel. There's other brands. I just buy this stuff at Walmart. You can get it for $4 and I think 97 cents for a quart, which means that 4 of these is going to run you 20 bucks. You're looking at 20 bucks a gallon for fuel, which for some people, they simply won't go that route. They'll have nothing to do with it. But I'm just thinking as just a little preventative. I don't use that much chainsaw gas every year. At least I haven't had to so much this year compared to last year. So I'm just going to keep a couple cans on hand. And again, one of the reasons why I'm doing this review is because there really isn't much for reviews on this particular brand or grade of fuel on YouTube. And I just want to let you know, in a chainsaw, it's going to run good just as long as your chainsaw is set up for a 40-to-1 ratio, which they typically have on the oil the fuel tank on the right side, or you're right by your cap. It'll say 40 to 1, 32 to 1, and so on. So if you run a 50 to 1, you should be good to go. It says ready for use, but I have nothing that runs a 50 to 1 ratio. Another thing about those ethanol-based gases, you know, a lot of times with our cars, with our equipment, we just go buy the cheapest gas we can get and we could care less. We put that in our cars and we could care less because, hypothetically speaking, 10% ethanol is safe to run in our cars. Well, I have two friends that both have yard businesses here in town, and in the off season, you know, they do snow removal and they also do some equipment repairs. And they've told me that they're starting to see, especially in lawnmowers that are 4 or 5 years old, they're starting to see a lot of carburetor issues. A lot of the rubber parts inside the carburetor are basically deteriorating and falling apart. Fuel lines that literally just crumble and break. I know I purchased a used mower that was about 10 years old and the fuel line was shot on that. Now that's understandable, but a mower that's only 3 to 4 years old, if you're using non-ethanol gas, you really should not have that issue unless A, it's a manufacturer problem, or B, you were running ethanol gas and that's what's causing the corrosion it's causing the rubber lines to deteriorate and the problems with the carburetor. So for me, it's worth it to spend a couple more bucks, especially for as little as I actually use the chainsaw anymore, just to have a good fuel in here. And so that's it. So I mean, that would be my recommendation. Try it, see what you think. You know what? You could use half the can, keep your receipt if you don't like it. You could always take it back to your local Walmart. You know, you can always return it if you're not satisfied with it. Company seems to be pretty solid. I know they've been around for quite a while. They make a lot of other grades of fuel. But again, just please try to steer clear of ethanol fuel for your two-cycle equipment. For your cars and trucks, I could care less what you run through your car. What you run through your car is your own business. But nothing is more frustrating than when you have an emergency and you need to use your chainsaw and it won't start. I mean, I just would not want to have to deal with that. Same situation with my snowblower. So there you go. All right, guys, so I want to thank you for joining me today on this quick little video. I just wanted to talk about SEF Small Engine Fuel and just to let you know that it is good to go. And in this particular brand of chainsaw, you know, you might have certain recommendations in your instruction manual for certain brands of chainsaw where it says don't use other fuels, use only our fuel. So you are kind of using this stuff at your own risk, but it is designed and ready to run in a two-cycle engine. So there you have it. All right, so thank you guys for watching today, guys. Please like or subscribe. You can check me out over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm also on Patreon with patreon.com/TravisP11. I'm also over on gunchannels.com with the Ordinary Average Guy Gun Channel. And I think that's about it. So I'm getting ready to fire up the lawnmower in another hot, sweaty, warm Nebraska day. Gonna have to deal with another one. So I think that's it. So guys, I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, as always, we will talk to you soon. All right, have a great weekend. Bye.